we got to get into the RH case against the corrupt SEC, the motion to dismiss from last week. Again, we're spoiled with positive news lately, overwhelmingly positive last week. So on Thursday, Halloween, hundreds, well, actually, I don't know if hundreds ended up showing up. I think it was
Not
like
quite.
75, 85 showed up for the SEC and RH case. Courtroom allowed about 60, so they packed it in, and they actually had an overflow room as well. So again, Nuclear Herbs, the Pulse Chain attorney, not that and I don't mean he's an official one, just the guy within our community that people follow, obviously. But he was there, and he talked about, like, look, these judges aren't going to see anybody in a courtroom at a motion to dismiss hearing. So the fact that this is packed to the gills and needing another room has a huge effect, basically, for her. I'm just kind of going through my notes here, and then we'll really hit everything hard. But as far as like the turnout, first of all, how amazing is that, Ewok, that everybody did come through? Obviously, RG3 had already planned out the Pulse tour to be there as well. And then the next day they had a stoppage there and did the Pulse tour and everything like that. We saw pictures, everybody dressed nice and stuff. Everybody was streaming from outside, Crypto Coffee, SJ. I saw a lot of people streaming from outside. Yeah. I saw like signs like anti-Gensler and anti-SEC signs and pro Richard Hart signs they were outside with. But what did it just say to you, first off, that like this many people did show up, like just how crazy it was that all these people showed up to show the judge that, like, yeah, do you think that we were scammed? Because look how many people are actually here for this thing. First off.
No, it was pretty awesome. Now, I do believe that originally there were supposed to be over 200. And that was apparently before the date change and everything got pushed back to happen on Halloween. But still, for being Halloween, it was a great turnout. One of the things that I was kind of disappointed, but totally understood why it happened, and we brought this up on the show last week, was the fact that some of the lawyers had said, they would do something after the case, obviously, but they chose to keep it separate, which might have been, the right decision, the better decision. It does suck that it didn't happen because there was discussion of it originally, but they didn't meet with them. But they did get to talk to them after the case, right? They did stick around a little bit to talk to some people after the case. And, I believe Nuclear Herbs actually talked to him for a little while, and they knew who he was. I thought that was pretty cool, where they knew who he was, and they knew a couple other of the Hexagons too. So they're following along, man. They're paying attention, and that goes a very long way. But yeah, it was just awesome. The turnout, the mood. Everybody was in really good spirits. I know the DGen Roundtable guys ordered, I forget how many, 15, 20 pizzas. And they kind of chilled in the park there for lunch. And just, it was cool. It was cool for people to hang out, talk to each other. And just the camaraderie alone. So, it was pretty awesome. And it went rather well, which I'm sure we're going to get into all of that too.
Yeah, so first off, just the fact that so many people showed up, fantastic, and definitely clearly had an impact on the judge. The biggest home run I think that we got out of this, that we really hit unknowingly, is just how great Judge Amon was. She was ridiculously prepared for this, which, you expect of a judge. But I think with a case like this, some people with crypto, and especially something as DeFi as Pulse Chain and stuff like that, you don't know how well they're going to be versed in this. And you hope that you don't get somebody who's totally ignorant and is just like, well, I only just listen to what the SEC has to say. I mean, to me, that wouldn't be a judge doing their job whatsoever. But either way, she showed up unbelievably prepared, knew exactly what she was talking about, knew what questions to ask good questions. She was really, outside of obviously RH's representation and his attorneys, she was the major boon for us here. She did fantastic. She grilled the SEC multiple times, and of course asked appropriate questions to RH's attorneys as well, which I think that they handled far better than the SEC attorneys did. Let me see the best way to go. Let's first, just as a summary, bring up Nuclear Herb's summary tweet, and I will read through that, and then we'll go. We got part of the transcript that is absolutely an utter embarrassment for the SEC that we have to read you guys here in a minute. But okay, this comes from Nuclear Herbs. This was his kind of quick and dirty thoughts after the whole thing. So number one, he says Richard's team is fucking stellar. So I think we knew that. The judge was very prepared and asked a lot of pointed questions that she obviously needed direct answers to in order to make her decision. Richard's team in general gave more specific and definitive answers to the judge's questions. The SEC had trouble clearing the hurdle of proving domestic securities transactions. This is big. That alone could end the case. When the judge asks you, where does the blockchain live, which is what we put on the thumbnail for tonight, and you can't answer, that's a problem. And man, I told you the other day, what a memeable quote by her. Where does the blockchain live? I love it. Number 5, we not only packed the courtroom full, but needed an overflow room to hold everyone that showed up. That will definitely make an impression on the judge. 6, did I mention that Richard's team is gangster? Holy fuck, these guys are good. Michael Liftick and David Kirk argued today. I'm just glad I never have to go up against these guys. 7, expect 60-ish days for a decision. Could be denied entirely, granted in part, or granted in full. I don't make predictions, but I do like how the hearing went. Number 8, Matty Allen and I just did a space. We discussed a lot of the details about what happened. Blah, blah. And that space was fantastic. I listened to that on that day right after the hearing. It was great.
Yeah.
So kind of just some thoughts from Nuclear Herbs. And I also jotted down more of what his thoughts were from listening to that space as well. Let me see here. I'm just trying to see what he didn't cover in that. The SEC, or excuse me, Richard's attorneys, I think it was Liftick, pointed out multiple times that he felt that the SEC was in real time trying to amend their complaint in the courtroom, which is what we're going to get to a bit here with the other bookmark we have. The biggest of all is that the SEC had trouble proving jurisdiction. The judge again asked, where does the blockchain live? And they had no answer. SEC tried to get everyone in the room. Oh, this is a great moment. Nuclear Herbs mentioned this. At one point, the SEC tried to get everyone in the room to raise their hand to show, like, well, what if we get a raise of hands in here and see how many of these investors are from the U.S.? And the judge said, no, I don't think that's necessary. Now, it's a ridiculous way to try to prove a point and wouldn't prove their point anyway. But Nuclear Herbs actually said, in a way, I almost wish they would have followed through with it.
Yeah.
Because you'd have seen that there were people from multiple countries there, actually.
And I believe there were, 8 countries represented?
I think 10. I think it was more.
Maybe 10? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy, for the super chat. 1999 super chat from Tommy.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Tommy. No comment, just a super chat. Well, appreciate you being here, man. Appreciate you. Let's see. Raise their hand. The judge also said that, so many times the SEC kept going in on, well, he raised this money and then he's off buying a diamond and buying these cars and buying Gucci, whatever the hell. And the judge said that, is he not entitled to do whatever he wants with the funds after receiving them? Can he do what he wants? It's his money now. He delivered a product. They keep acting as if he didn't deliver a product or as if there wasn't one made.
Yeah, and that was the first thing that she said. He did what he said he was going to do. He delivered the product. So where's the problem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What, the price is down? Like there's nothing to really say. That's kind of the good meaty stuff from in the courtroom in terms of like next steps and everything. So Herbs also said, he said there will not be a trial here. So any kind of fear of like some lengthy back and forth trial is not going to happen. It'll be a summary decision regardless. The longest this could take, he speculated, would be into Q3 of 2025. Even if none of the motion to dismisses are granted, partial motion to dismiss could be granted, or all. Odds seem to be up to at least. I know he's not giving what he thinks the chances are, but he went from saying that I have heard him say this before, that he thought it would be about a 30% chance of this motion to dismiss going over, as compared to like a normal 10% chance for most of these. But I mean, I heard him basically call this like a toss up at this point.
Yeah,
So that would imply to me at the very least 50-50, if not,
50-50.
yeah, if
Yeah.
not better. Yeah, partial or fully dismissed could both happen. Um, Herb said, yeah, 60-ish days for a decision. So that would basically put us at like New Year's Eve at this point. So we're probably looking into the new year. But it depends. It'll depend on if she wants to get stuff out and done like that week before Christmas break for everybody, or you just wait till the New Year after that. So yeah, what do you make about that? So I mean, we have all these angles here of like partial dismissal, full dismissal, continuing on, and we'll just get a summary at some point. Um, what do you ultimately think after all? I mean, again, this is all like extremely bullish. It went very, very well. What is your gut telling you will happen in terms of her decision and next steps, and what kind of time frame?
I think honestly that we get a partial dismissal. I don't think it will be a full dismissal. I think there's going to be some issues that she just throws out and says, we're not even going there. This is not what you're arguing. She's basically defended several of the arguments already. And like you said, it was almost like they were trying to change it on the fly, because they realized some of their talking points after the arguments back and forth. They realized how weak they really were. The I think the first thing is the jurisdiction. Obviously, that's the main argument, because if you don't have that, you can't have anything else, right?
Right.
Something tells me that it's not going to be a full dismissal. I really hope it is. And these guys keep bringing up Finland. When you hear the go through the whole document and the whole transcript of it, they mention Finland a couple times. I also heard somebody else talking about something going on in Finland as well. But that is coming from Cleo, who we can't trust at all, right? Nothing that comes out of Cleo's mouth should be trusted at all. He's the one that submitted this to the SEC in hopes of getting a finder's fee in the first place.
He actually, just side note, he crept his way into that spaces with Maddie and Nuclear Herbs, actually.
Oh, did
he? Under an alt account, and KDP actually outed him. She went in and interrupted him at one point and said, guys, this is Cleo, just FYI. And then they just booted him out of there. He kept trying to like, what if this happens? And what if it'll just fall to this jurisdiction and all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the dude has no fucking life. I mean,
it's crazy. Anyway, I'm surprised everybody doesn't just have him blocked. Like, I don't know how he keeps sneaking his way in, but either way, all accounts probably. Yeah. I part of me seems to think that the way she was prepared, the way she understands it, we do get dismissal. The other part kind of thinks that she lets some of it go, that there is jurisdiction for some of it. I think that's pushing it though, because again, the whole question, where does the blockchain live? You can't prove it. The timeline that happened, where all the stuff happened after the fact of the Hex launch, the Pulse Chain sacrifice, the Pulse X sacrifice. Let's pull that up for 1 second, because I think it's important. When you look at this chart right here and you see, you've got, here's the adoption amplifier, right? And these are all the important dates. Here's the Pulse Chain sacrifice, which, people kept sending shit in the whole time. Here's the Pulse X sacrifice. Well, here are the dates that these guys are alleging, and it is literally after all of this stuff technically ended. It says Hart makes virtual appearance at the Hex conference.
That's
so what? So what?
They keep trying to say that he engineered, like he is
Right.
the one that engineered all of those events, and it was geared to US investors and
Little
yada
do they
yada.
know it was put on by the community, and he
Right,
was invited and he came to speak.
right.
Um, Hex appeared in person in an interview in Miami. Well, okay, so he was here helping his mom, visiting his family, and happened to go. I think he flew in and out of Miami probably, and happened to go on the Fresh and Fit. I think
Yeah,
is what it was, that the
yeah,
one podcast that he was on. Um, and then again, another virtual appearance at the PulseCon. Um, so all of these happened after, which, if he was promoting it, don't you think he would have done it before? These dates that they're talking about. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yes, he live streamed, but he never targeted anything um American. He was crypto, and again, the blockchain. Where does the blockchain live? Well, you can't answer that question. It's free to everybody that uses it. So that was some of the big things that stood out to me. Just the whole timeline, and why I think there is a decent chance, but it's just historically I don't see judges just saying, dismiss it with prejudice, which means they can't bring it back up. That would
Right.
be the ideal goal. However, um, I don't know what the administration change will have anything to do with you like to think that it wouldn't, but it may. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's wishful thinking at this point. It would be nice, it'd be really nice, but I think we're going to get some sort of case. But it will only be partial. It's only going to be some of these things. They basically stopped talking about Hex because it's a finished product, because we know it's not, there isn't. I think that's kind of gone. I think the only thing that will come up now is the sacrifice deal. And I think that may be the only part of this case that gets seen.
A point that you were making about, they keep acting like him being at these virtual events was some kind of like as if he orchestrated them and that he was, targeting US investors. Actually, if anything, how many personal in-person meetups did he have that were all throughout Europe? Like
Ton,
even before that time. Yeah. So that was all in Europe. That was
all of them.
not all of them, every single one.
Yep.
So
The only thing he
different
did in
countries.
person was overseas. He did one in Amsterdam. He did one in um, Portugal, I believe. There was another one
Copenhagen
in
or something.
Amsterdam, and maybe Copenhagen. Yeah, there were several
Yeah.
personal meetups where they would just kind of show up at a hotel and say, "Hey, we're here. Anybody want to come
Mhm.
out tonight?" Kind of thing. So yeah, they were all overseas.
Yeah. Um, there was one other bit of that I wanted to acknowledge. Now I'm forgetting what it is. I agree. I tend to agree with you. I'm still not going to be as aggressive to say that there's a full dismissal out of this, but I do think we'll probably have some kind of partial one that I don't know how she could exactly do that because again, like you said, with the jurisdiction thing and the whole, where does the blockchain live? That seems like it kind of just erases it right there. I think what may happen is there is a partial dismissal, and whatever scraps the SEC is then left with to try to make some semblance of a bullshit case out of will just be a lame duck, you
Yep.
know, failure mission from day one, basically. So
Yep.
eh, we really could not have turned up smelling better roses than we did after this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, this is just fantastic, really.
And
Again,
again, she
kudos
has
to the
to
judge.
grant jurisdiction, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's the first step. So
Yeah.
even that's a toss up. I mean, so yeah, we're looking good. We're looking very good.